Welcome back to the Good Success Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Culler, and today we got a very good episode for you. We do have Tom Olson. He is in Rhode Island, right? Is that
what's up?
Dude.
I'm right on the beach. I can see the beach right out this window, so I'm spending time with you guys right now. But it's awesome.
How's the weather?
It's actually a little colder than it has been. I think it's a high of 69 today, and it's windy. So we're supposed to get some rain this week, but it's my wife's birthday this week, and I'm trying to spend some time with her. But I'm looking forward to a good week.
Awesome. Well, that's not too bad. The weather, it's a little warmer this week where we're at. So, yeah, whatever. But Tom's
it's all about the people you're with.
Yeah, Tom had to be here, so we actually have like 5 or 6 podcasts scheduled this week to record, and Tom took it like a champ, and he's like, I'm going to be on them anyway. And he's going to be on the Think Realty radio show. So
yes,
Tom's just so dedicated, right? So we appreciate Tom being on the podcast today. But then we got Michael Zuber, who is out of Mountain View, California, that's on the podcast with us. So Michael, it's awesome to have you on. This is actually our first time chatting with him. So I'm excited about this, but I believe I've done a lot of digging on Michael and found some really good questions that we have for him. So Michael, good to have you on, my friend.
Thank you very much, Josh. And Tom, make sure you take the wife out for dinner or something. She's going to deserve something.
It's like every day, every morning for breakfast. It's awesome. So yeah, we're already having a good time. We've been here for a day and a half, so we're having a good time.
Awesome. Well, good to hear. So before we get into it, we got a few announcements. So the first thing is we have a book that we're giving away for free, and Tom is not sitting next to me, so he can't take it away from me. So this is the Active Turnkey book. You guys were in Atlanta for Think Realty and gave away like 50 of these, and then Aaron gave me like another 20 names of people that want them.
We literally ran out by 10:30, so we should have brought a lot more. Next time we should be bringing hundreds, I think.
Hundreds. So that was crazy. So then I got to ship out another like 20 books, which I'm not excited about, but I'm excited about it, but it is what it is. But you can pick up your copy at goodsuccess.com/ATK book for free. So Tom is paying for this. We're just asking you guys to cover shipping costs. This is literally coming out of Tom's pocket directly. Like, he is paying for these. He's mad at me, but it's all good. It's all for you guys.
I'm not mad anymore, Josh. Remember our last podcast? I said, I've decided that this is my way to work, to have, to give. I learned all those things through my own experiences, and I would just rather other people take the shortcut. Just like our guest today. Our guest today is the exact same. He's learned how to build his own rental portfolio, and he's now just trying to share his knowledge of how he got financially free and how he can now help other people. Mm-hmm. And how he can even, I think in the long run, Michael's probably even trying to find other people to be like him and be able to help other people, lead other people to success. So that's just my way of giving to the community and trying to be a conduit, not a bucket, and working to have, to give.
Absolutely. Awesome. So you guys can pick that up. Active Turnkey, the best way to buy rentals, by Tom Olson himself. Go to goodsuccess.com/ATK book, as in Active Turnkey ATK book. And you can pick that up there. Just cover shipping costs. Tom's going to pay for the book. You guys are going to get a lot of awesome information. Then we have our Good Success Mastermind coming up. It is just like it just jumped on us, Tom. I can't believe how fast this has come up.
Well, it seems like it's coming up faster for you, Josh, because you're getting married in 3 weeks.
Man, it's
you're going to be on for 2 weeks. So I think you're thinking it's coming up on us, but we still got like 2 months before it's here. So actually more than 2 months, 2 months and a couple of days.
Yeah. But it's still coming up fast.
3 weeks left, basically, to get everybody in the mastermind.
Exactly.
And we're doing awesome. I think we have 6 or 7 already new guests lined up for this, and we're planning on having another 6 or 7. So we're probably going to have 10 to 12 brand new people this time. So for you members out there, bring your A game this time. And for the new people that are going to join us, we can't wait to see you and let you see what good success is all about.
Absolutely. So those dates are November 8, 9, and 10. We do have a boat activity for networking. So one of the big things that is a huge opportunity for this group is to actually network, and even people in the that are actual members of the mastermind. We're asking for more networking. So we got them a boat. We're going to put them on that boat for like 4 or 5 hours and have them network in Miami, Florida. So Miami, Florida is where the location is. So November 7 is when we're having that boating activity for them. So if you guys are interested in coming to the mastermind, make sure you take advantage of that. It's all paid for, sponsored by NREG, so National Real Estate Insurance Group. They took the bite on that one. So they're like, hey, let's put them on a boat and we're going to sponsor it. So
remember what happens on the boat.
It goes on Facebook.
It's supposed to stay on the boat, right?
Man, I keep saying it stays on the boat, but then you're like, it goes on Facebook. We got to get on the same page.
What happens on the boat instantly goes on social media.
That's exactly right.
Is that how it goes?
That's exactly right.
All right.
I think we're going to stay on that because, we want them to talk about how awesome the boat is and how awesome we are. Okay. All right, so we got to be a little selfish with it. But anyway, so that's going to be fun. That is November 7, but the actual mastermind is November 8, 9, and 10 in Miami, Florida. If you guys want to learn more about that, go to goodsuccess.com/mastermind, and you can fill out the application there. We do have you fill out the application. Make sure you do that because we do want to learn a little bit more about you before we jump on the phone with you. Once you submit that application, you're going to talk to either myself or Tom, and then we'll get you in and make it happen. You guys, goodsuccess.com/mastermind. Learn more about that. We're very excited about it. And then we have early bird pricing for the Community Go Giver event for next year, which is June 26, 27, 28. That is going to happen in Gary, Indiana. Tom, I know you've been putting together, you've been crafting a speaking lineup. Talk about it.
Yes, I am already extremely excited. I just got 2 more speakers confirmed. Sonia Booker out of Atlanta, who's building wellness centers right in the heart of Atlanta. And she's trying to prove the model that like the better the community and the better that the house the people live in, like the better the people survive and the better the people thrive in that community. And if you listen and you read the wellness reports and those kind of things, it is like you can actually make a difference in how long people live by how you can help your community in real estate. So she's going to be a speaker for us. I'm super excited about that. So that's just a new one that just came on. And I'm telling you, like, I am super passionate about this Community Go Giver, not just the event, it's just the movement itself. I want to try to find a ton of people around the whole world that are building their community and not just focusing on real estate to make money and to create passive income, which I think is amazing and awesome. I think it's the vehicle that many people use to have financial freedom, but it can really be something that you make a difference in people's lives and you really can change a community if you focus on it.
Absolutely. So we're excited about that. You guys can go to communitygogiver.com to learn more about that. If you're listening to the podcast, just go to, again, communitygogiver.com. You'll find the information to purchase your early bird tickets. If you guys are on Facebook Premiere right now or you're watching this video, that is all going to be linked in the comment section. So make sure you check out those links and any links that we talk about with Michael, his YouTube channel, which we'll talk about here in just a second, any websites that he mentioned are all going to be linked there. So make sure you check those out. CommunityGoGiver.com, happening June 26, 27, 28, right in our office, Gary, Indiana. So don't miss out on that. Early bird special. Save a couple $100, make it happen. So let's go ahead and get into the interview here. Michael, we've been chatting the whole time, but we're going to hand it over to you. So Michael's out at, again, Mountain View, California. Super jealous about that, especially with the winter months coming up. He's been in real estate for 15 years, has acquired over 175 rentals that are in his portfolio. He is the CEO of One Rental at a Time. He's got a YouTube channel. He's got a free ebook, I think. I think you sent that over to me, so we're going to have that linked in the description so you guys can make sure you download that. Michael, do us a brief introduction, who you are, what you do, and how long you've been doing that.
All right. Thanks, Josh and Tom, for this opportunity. As you sort of highlighted in your introduction, I started real estate investing, buying cash flow rentals 15 or so years ago, maybe it's 16 now. And I was a busy software executive. I worked in technology my whole life, lived in the Bay Area. And just over time, right? If you remember 2003, it was pre-crash, right? So I invested through that seller's market, obviously over the cliff of the crash, rode the bottom, and then obviously came out the other side with 175 units. What's interesting about this is, I retired because of my passive income from real estate, and now it's sort of time to give back, right? I retired February 1st of this year. And what I'm seeing when I'm out there talking to folks and doing different real estate events, there's this quandary or almost disbelief about, hey, I'm a busy professional. I have I make, a decent W-2. I have a busy family life. I can't do what you did. And I'm here to say that's at least not accurate, right? And I'm trying to help people at least get to 4, right? If they got to 4, I think most people's financial lives would be a lot better. Mm-hmm. But who says you have to stop at 4? So you mentioned all these things, one rental at a time, all of that. So that's really what I'm pushing, right? I only ever bought one rental at a time. So hence the name of my ebook, hence the name of my website, hence the name of my Facebook channel, so on and so forth. So I'm just giving back, right? I do all this for free. I wrote a book because I just felt like I had to get my story out, right? Because it was interesting to ride the wave, crash, and come back. Like Tom, I don't charge for it. I simply give it away because I didn't even want the hard cost of, printing it. So, anybody wants it, send it. I have, it is the story. So I give it away freely to anybody who asks. So that's
awesome.
who I am.
Awesome. Where can somebody get a hold of that book?
Right now, I don't have it stashed anywhere. So if you want to link it somewhere, great. They send me an email at mzuber at onerentalatatime. They can get it. They can probably send a note to you and get it.
Awesome.
Again, anybody that asks, send it to them. It's totally free.
Awesome. We will make sure that we do that. So let's get into some questions here. I know I have a lot of questions for you. Doing some digging, I'm like, man. So he's got a lot of content out there, guys, in case you didn't notice. So we're going to link his YouTube channel in the description, but his YouTube channel is called One Rental at a Time, like he just said. So make sure you go to YouTube and check that out. A lot of great content that he's been giving away there. So you had talked about that you, at one time, were a full-time busy employee and you're a landlord. So let's dive into that just a little bit. Kind of explain how you pulled yourself out of that. And like you said, one rental at a time and made it happen.
Yeah. So one of the first things you need to realize when you're sort of a full-time employee is you obviously have very finite available time slots to do things, right? So one of the things I had to wrap my head around is I spent a year looking in what's called the Bay Area, let's call it 45 minutes of where I live in Mountain View. And nothing made sense, right? I was under the disbelief or the belief maybe that, if I looked hard enough, I'd find that magic street, and I never did. So then my wife was gracious enough to sort of hit me over the head and saying, "Why are you only looking 45 minutes? Let's look elsewhere." So long story short, we got to Fred. Yeah, smart woman. She gets lots of credit for my success, and you'll see that in the book. She gets a special shout out at least 10 times, saying, "Thank you, honey." But we basically got to Fresno, which was 2.5 hours away, one direction. Because it made sense, and we just started buying. So what I'm going with this is I had to know what I was good at. I was good at two things, and I outsourced everything else. I was good at finding deals or creating deals, right? Because you find or create them. And I was good at securing capital. Everything else I had to outsource. I was 2.5 hours away, didn't do property management, didn't do inspections, don't do painting, don't do any of that stuff. So I had to be comfortable letting go of some control, letting go of some expenses to build the portfolio, because my main job was to provide a W-2, which was significant to pay for my family life and also to keep investing. So never could give up, never could forget what my number one job was, which was being good at my day job.
Gotcha.
So let me ask you a question here. So you said one rental at a time. Are these all single family?
Oh, that's a good question. So in the beginning, as you'll read in the book, of the first 8 purchases, 7 of them were houses, and the 7th was actually a 2 houses on one lot, affectionately called a duplex. But as you'll read in the book, when we got right to the peak, one of the things that made us unique is we can't buy anymore, right? For example, I talk about a house I bought on Norris Drive for $107,000. We ended up selling right near the peak for $264,000 or $265,000, but it rented for the same $1,100. It just doesn't make sense. So again, wife gets credit. She goes, "Why do we keep looking at houses? You're stressing yourself out." We started looking at small apartment buildings. So we flipped out or 1031, right? Let's be careful of the word flipped. We 1031 exchanged out of those 8 properties into small apartment buildings. So we went from 8 to 80 units, which saved us during the crash, right? Sure, our net worth went down and oh my God, it was scary. But we're sitting on apartment buildings, small apartment buildings, but nonetheless apartments, and rents are going up. So, our cash flow was much better. So we have a mix now of probably 110 or 20 apartments, which we call multifamilies, and then 50 or so houses.
Awesome.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the videos that you posted on YouTube really intrigued me. I think is a more recent one too. And you talked about how the next decade is kind of primed and it's going to be golden for landlords. Yeah. Can you go into that just a little bit, kind of a brief overview of what you actually mean by that?
I like it. You have done your research.
I did.
Very impressed. Nice work. So yeah, I think the next decade is setting up to be really good for landlords. And more specifically, let's put a point on this. It's landlords of affordable housing, right? If you're renting Park Place and Boardwalk, good luck to you, because I think that's going to be in trouble. But if you're a landlord of affordable housing, I think the next decade is going to be nice for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, whether we don't see it now or it's not being reported, inflation is real. I believe inflation as a landlord is good for you on multiple fronts. First, the inflation of the asset, both then the inflation of rent. And oh, by the way, if you're smart, you have 30-year fixed rate debt. So good for you, right? I also think interest rates are going to be going up. I don't think there's any question. The question is it 2 times or 3 times? I mean, who cares? They're going up, which is going to drive affordability down, which is going to keep more buyers on the sideline, and hence a roof over your head is a requirement. They're going to become renters instead of buyers of owner occupants. So I think we've seen the peak of owner occupancy, which was obviously in 2008 during the silly financing. Then we have a generational change, right? The whole baby boomers, right? They wanted to get into housing as soon as they could. Now the next largest generation is the millennials, and they are clearly putting off homeownership. You know, you can talk about whys and hows and all of that. The question is they are. So that just means, again, they're going to have to be renters for longer. And again, I don't think anybody's building affordable housing, right? So if you buy affordable housing and get it rented and treat it right, I can't see how the next decade's not going to be great for you. So that's what I'm thinking is going to happen.
Interesting.
No, I totally 100% agree with you. If you've done any research on me, you know that right now we just started about a year ago flipping the entire city of Gary, Indiana, which is exactly that, affordable housing. And not only everything that you said, I think is spot on. The only thing I would add to that is I actually think it's going to drive the prices up of affordable housing. So if you can get in 2 or 3 years, I mean, I think you have one of the biggest opportunities that I've ever seen be able to be literally double or triple those values of those houses in those areas where you can buy for 30, 40, 50 grand. We're not going to see that again for decades. So, so I'm not saying go out and buy in the middle of nowhere. Go out and buy like in these metropolitan areas where you think that there's a chance that these are going to go up in value. And I'm not saying just bank on it. I'm not saying like roll the dice, do your homework, make sure you have really good property management on the back, and make sure that you have the houses are still sound houses and they're not in areas where there's shotguns going off every single night. But I really honestly believe in that. And we're already seeing things happen in the neighborhoods that we're working in. So I love that there's people even all the way on the West Coast. We've never even talked about this before, Michael, and you're like saying exactly what I've been saying for about the last 2 years, really. Yeah. And everything that I've been saying is 100% true, and it's already coming true now.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think just to put a pin in that or a point on that is I think whatever you buy now, again, you going back to the question, right, at the beginning or day zero of the decade will be worth at least 2x and maybe, 2.5x. At the end of the 10 years. So I never bank on appreciation. Like you said, you had all the caveats, but hey, if it comes, I'm not going to turn it away.
Yeah. So in
addition to that, I also think it's going to contract. Right now, we've been building so many homes in the $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 range. Those are going to become unaffordable for for all the people that are living in those. I'm sorry, but yeah, and we actually have seen a very healthy gain in how much money people make over the last 18 months. I'm not sure how much that's going to continue. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. We know the labor markets are definitely tight around the country, especially construction and especially areas like that. So we could still see some raising in that, but there's no way it's going to be able to raise as much as if they raise interest rates a whole nother point or 2 or 3 points. That just, when you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars, it doesn't keep up.
Couldn't agree more.
Just kill us and kill people that are in those markets that can barely afford their houses.
Yeah. So along the same lines with what both of you were talking about, some great information there. What are some other things outside of what you both just talked about that people need to consider when it comes to acquiring rentals?
Well, I think there's a couple of things that when you again, I focus on busy professionals, right? So if you're in the business or you're in the trades or you have skills, maybe you have more time to invest. What I really focus on is helping people have slivers of time. So one of the first things that I did wrong, that I'm trying to help people understand now, is there's really 3 different qualities of properties when you look at them online. And I call them this, and you can call them whatever you want. There's the sort of slumlord Class D properties that in many cases should be torn down, right? They're kind of like, oh my God, I can't believe somebody used to live here kind of stuff. Then there's the well-used but lived in, which was a lot of the stuff I bought before. And when I say lived in, it's lived in under market, right? Let's just say for giggles, rents $1,000 for that, type of configuration, but they're living there for $750, right? There's a reason they're living there for $750, right? It hasn't been maintained in a while. Stuff's out of date. Stuff's kind of broken, whatever. And what I did, 15 years ago is I bought some of those under the misgivings of, I can buy it at the discounted rate and I'll just go in and raise rents. And oh, by the way, my magic Excel spreadsheet will work. Never happen, right? Or rarely happen. You raise rents, people that were paying $750 can't afford $1,000. Then you got to kick them out. Then you got to repair it, and pretty soon you're out a lot more cash, right? Because you did 20% down, and then you had to pick a number, 20K in, and you're in trouble. So that's the second one, which is sort of the well lived in but rented under market. And then there's what I call pride of ownership rentals. They're brand new. They've been fully remodeled. They've been remodeled for a landlord, meaning they have hardwood floors versus carpet, because carpet needs to be replaced every time. Undermount sinks, granite counters, just the stuff that's solid, sort of industrial strength stuff. And that's what I think busy professionals should be buying, even if they have to put, God forbid, more down, right? If you have to put 30 or 35% down to make your cash flow, that's so much better than buying what I call an alligator property, which is, those negative cash flow things. So I'm really cautioning people to be conservative in their metrics. 30-year debt, fixed rate mortgage, and buying a pride of ownership is a much better idea, because you consume cash, which is something I didn't do 15 years ago.
So let's talk about that a little bit more, because actually two of the questions I was going to ask is, what is an alligator property? And then what is a pride of ownership rental? So let's start with the alligator property. Why is it, why do you call it that, first of all, and why is it so bad?
So I call it that really because of a friend. So everybody reads about no negative cash flow and all that stuff, and they just washes over them. I had a friend probably 12 or 13 years ago, probably 2006, take me in his office and go to his whiteboard and say, I've done the math. I can afford 4 negative cash flow properties because I have a high paying job, blah, blah, blah. And I can afford it. I can afford to lose $1,000 a month with 4 rentals. And I'm like, you are blank, 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 crazy. And stupid. Thank you. That's a very nice way of saying it. Different words came to mind that I didn't want to say. So I had to come up with an imagery that was frankly more painful. And I actually had a friend drop a logo. If you go to my YouTube channel or whatever, I actually have pictures of it. In my Facebook page is this alligator chewing on money. Mm-hmm. Because every time you send out a check, I want you to feel it. So I call it no alligators or alligator properties, because I don't believe negative cash flow is painful enough. So I want people to think, pain when they consider buying an alligator or a negative cash flow property. So that's the story behind no alligators.
Yeah, it's so much more risky. I mean, even if, let's just say you own a rental and it's a pride of ownership rental, and let's just say you have the worst luck, which does happen. You might have a string of 3 or 4 years where you just get bad tenants in there. They don't pay. You got to kick them out. And then you have to do a turnover. So a little bit of repairs maybe each time. And let's just say the cash that you do get just breaks you even. Well, if you're banking on appreciation and it happens, then it's just like going to the boat or just going to the casino. Like you're not really investing at that point. Now, on the flip side, if you go the opposite direction and you are working on cash flow and it does work, and let's just say the market tanks, the house doesn't know that the market tanks. Like you said, you wrote out the whole 2008 crisis because you had the cash flow. None of those properties realized that they lost 50% in value. Yep. The rent stayed the same. In my market, they went up, and most of the markets around the country, rents went up.
Mine too.
And you just ride it out. On the flip side, the people that I know that have become extremely wealthy, not just the people that have been able to be able to retire or whatever, but I've seen the people that literally have made $100 million within like a 7-8 year period of time, are the people that found those houses in those markets in front of progress, or right at 2009 when they bought up all of Arizona, bought up all of Phoenix, or bought up seriously, you find those areas where you think they're going to double or triple in the next 2 or 3 or 5 or whatever years, and then let the cash flow just ride the cash flow until, like you said, you sold a house for twice as much of what you had into the property. That happens all the time in these cycles. So I wouldn't necessarily bank on it, but I think the strategy is definitely there. And for me, what I've seen is the people that become extremely wealthy in real estate are not the fix and flippers. They're just not. It's the people that are doing this longer term fix and flip, if you want to call it that way, this longer term kind of cash flow till something happens in the market.
Couldn't agree more.
So go ahead and then go a little bit deeper into the pride of ownership rentals. Why do you like those so much? First of all, why you call it that? And then why are those?
So again, so I had to create, again, I'm very big into imagery and telling stories. It's sort of what I did through my entire career. So when I talk to someone, I want them to remember something. So I have to give them a hook, in this case, pride of ownership rental. And it's really the idea that it's the lowest risk asset for, again, a busy professional who's maybe hours or even states away from where they're investing, leased at market, already has an approved tenant, right? This whole turnkey model that I'm sure is discussed in the book that was highlighted earlier by yourself and Tom. But more than that, it's prepared to a level that is of quality. You know, you take a Class D slumlord and turn it into a Class B pride of ownership is what I call that. So wood floors, two-tone paints, granite countertops, brand new kitchen cabinets, probably a new bathroom. It's just all new stuff. It doesn't have the extras, right? We're not talking garbage disposals and dishwashers and stuff that breaks and has expensive service calls. But again, higher quality than the average tenant will get in a affordable house. And then you created it such to a level that expenses are low going forward for that landlord who should have 3 to 5 years of, you know, heaven forbid, no turns and no expenses because everything is brand new. So that's the imagery I want people to think about when I call something pride of ownership. And as you've highlighted on the YouTube channel, there's plenty of videos giving samples. Here's a Class D and here's a Class B. What do you think?
Absolutely.
I love that you say that too. And again, we've never even talked about this, but we did this in my own business about 18 months ago. So we went from just your regular everything to, okay, no more carpet unless we absolutely have to, all granite countertops, all things that that you think are going to end up going bad and they shouldn't really go bad.
Right.
And not only do the renters appreciate it, but they rent quicker, which you just think about 20, 30 days of extra rent in a year. Like what's your ROI on just 20 or 30 extra days? It's a lot of money, folks.
Totally agree.
Not only that, I promise you, I'm getting at least $50 more a month just to add granite countertops. The difference in a kitchen with granite countertops is typically between $800 and $1,200 difference between that and Formica.
Yep.
Like look at the ROI on that, guys. It's a lot better than 10 or 12%. Like it's 60, 80, 90% ROI on just that change in your doing your rentals. So
totally agree.
That's exactly how we do our turnkeys. We not all hardwood floors, but at least hard surface. So
yeah,
we really like vinyl plank and the stuff that's not going to go bad if it gets wet. Even my own house, I took all the carpet out of my own house and put it at bare minimum is vinyl plank in all my house. So
totally agree.
I think that's 100% the way to go. And I love that you brought that up. That's awesome.
Yeah. So then kind of switching tracks a little bit, what are your thoughts on, there was something you said earlier that kind of made me think about this. What are your thoughts on somebody being an accidental landlord or somebody that's like currently a landlord that has 1 or 2 properties and versus like handing that over to an actual property management company?
So let me just repeat what I think you're saying. So you're saying, if I'm an accidental landlord, should I self-manage or give it to a property manager? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's hard for me to answer that, right? Because I'm just painfully honest every time. I've never self-managed anything. And part of the reason is 2.5 hours away. But I got to tell you, if my tenants were next door, I wouldn't self-manage that, right? It's just, I focus on finding deals and securing capital. I know what I'm good at. And frankly, I put out a hard candy shell, if you will, but I'm kind of, soft and gooey inside. So if I hear these silly stories about so-and-so's this and that, and, I can't pay your rent because of this or that reason, it'd probably make me feel bad and I might give it up. So I'm really glad to have the property manager between us who understands that, no, it's, don't pay rent in 3 days, get a notice. And if you don't pay in 3 days, start the eviction. So I like to have a barrier. I would never self-manage anything.
Yeah. So then what are some tips that you can give somebody out there that maybe they are an accidental landlord or they do currently have 1 or 2 properties in order to find a good property manager? What are a couple things that are key to look for?
So I got to tell you, I would tell you to continually look. I hired and fired a property management firm every year for the first 6 years of my investment career, which went from a single house. I think we got up to like 50 or 60 by the time we finally settled on one that took care of us. You've got to stay close. I do drive-by inspections in the beginning, right? I didn't tell them I was coming because every time I came, it looked great. It was shocking. But a couple of times I didn't tell them I was coming. It was there. So double check. Especially if you're a full-time employee, you're going to have property management. So you've just got to set up systems and checks and balances. And frankly, I think the chances of you finding your good property manager the first time is not very good. So be ready to fire them every 6 months. Just know that going in, I guess. I wish I had this little magic crystal ball that said, hey, here's a good one. But clearly took me a 7th try to figure it out.
Right.
So
Right. So then that's definitely important, is to find a good property manager then. Like that's priority.
Paramount.
No, paramount. It's the hardest part of the business, frankly. Most people think it's finding deals to securing capital. Again, a guy who's 2.5 hours away, my hardest part of my job was finding and trusting a property management firm. No question. Even today.
Yeah. Tom, any thoughts on that?
No, I can't agree more. The only thing I would say is that out of every 2 or 3 good property managers, there's like 20 bad ones. So like,
Agreed.
I'm telling you, it's the same thing with realtors. You know, it's about 3 out of every 10 realtors are really, really good. So
totally agree. Toss that off.
Awesome. So we got just a couple of quick more questions for Michael here, and then we're going to have to let you go, but we're definitely going to have you back. I like this interview. This was great. A lot of great content, a lot of great information. If you guys want to learn more about it, make sure you go to his YouTube channel, One Rental at a Time. Just go to YouTube and search that, and you'll find him there. So these are a couple questions that we ask everybody that we interview on the podcast. We always get different information, so it's always fun to ask and see what they say. I didn't really prepare you for this, so just give us your best shot. So good success means a lot to us. I know you've done a little bit of digging on us, and you know a little bit about what we're about, especially what we've been talking about in the beginning of this episode. So good success means something to us. And in episode 100, we had the entire Good Success team talked about what the actual phrase good success means to us. So when you hear that, good success, what do you think that means to you?
That's a good question. So when I think good success, at least at this point in my life, it's about success that you bring to others, right? There's more people involved in success. So it's no longer, I mean, if you asked me this 2 decades ago, I'm sure my answer would have been very selfish and probably stupid and wrong, but it would have been my answer 20 years ago, right? So I just know who I am. Now it's about, how can I help more people? How can I, like Tom mentioned, sort of buying a Class D property and fixing it up. Just think about when you do that, right? You turn a neighborhood around. First off, you help a seller who clearly wants out. You turn a neighborhood around, right? At least the immediate neighbors. You help renters because they're not going to live in horrible conditions anymore. If you choose to sell it through a turnkey, you're helping a buyer get a nice asset, right? So that's good success, right? The ability to take action on something that impacts dozens of people, if not hundreds of people. Hence, our motivation, Tom and I, is to write a book and give it away. Hence my YouTube channel, which has 125 videos as of this morning, giving it away, right? That's good success, right? My goal is 1,000 subscribers on the channel. I think we're like 186. Awesome. It's a long way to go, but we're going to try it. So that's what I think good success is helping more than just yourself or even your family. It's lots of other people.
That's awesome. I love that. And then hopefully we can get you a little more subscribers from the listen for the podcast here. So you guys
we'll get you to 1,000.
Yeah. So make sure you guys go check that out. Go to YouTube, go to One Rental at a Time. Just look that up on YouTube and make sure you subscribe to them. Don't hesitate. Make sure you do that. So as soon as you're done with the podcast here. And then one last thing here. So we always ask the guests to leave the audience with one thing. So piece of advice, a thought, a quote, maybe a resource, something that you learned. What is one thing that you would tell our audience that is like completely unforgettable?
Oh, wow.
It could be about business. It could be personal, anything.
Well, I like quotes, right? I'm not sure who did this. I think it might have been Mark Twain. It was the whole thing about getting rich in real estate. It's not a get rich quick. It's buy real estate and wait, right? That whole notion. And I think what we're talking about, one of your questions earlier, the golden decade, and sort of Tom alluded to it too. I think it's important to get started, right? You must take action. So one of the things that I believe that too many investors get stuck on is analysis paralysis, right? It's sort of, get ready and get ready and get ready and get ready. They sort of never pull the trigger. So sometimes real estate, they have inspection periods and they have out clauses. So maybe sometimes it's better just to take a shot, right? Write an offer even though you're uncomfortable, right? I believe in doing things that make us feel uncomfortable. Hence my, doing a live podcast. I was like, I'm kind of nervous, but it worked out okay. So I think we need to take more action as investors. We don't have to learn everything, right? So that's, I guess, what I would talk about. So get started and let this golden decade help you.
Awesome. So
Michael,
quick.
Wait a second, Josh. I gotta talk here. I'm sorry because I'm getting goosebumps right now.
I was about to ask him a question too. So can you go first,
Josh. I was like, this morning I was thinking about this exact same thing, and you alluded to yourself. Know what your strengths are. So one of my strengths is having bounce back ability. Like seriously, even in golf, for instance, my second shots always seem to be better than my first shots. And in business, it's always been that way. So it's so funny to me because I get employees, I get people where I'm just like, just do it, just do something, like just get out there. I want to see what the failure is first, and then I'm so much better at making that better than to actually get something started. Like that's my strength. Isn't that getting something started? My strength is like seeing what we did and then like making it so much better and making that second shot like 100 times better than that first shot. And I was like, man, because we're actually doing our annual for our leadership team next week. And it was kind of one of the things that I wrote down on there. Like don't be afraid, guys. If it's a new initiative, to just do it and screw it all. I don't even care. Screw it up. Like, I just want to see what it looks like to start it. Honestly, Josh can attest to this with our podcast. We started out I'm like, just do it. Let's just start the podcast. All right. So we didn't plan it out. It was just like the next day. Okay. Me and Jared and Josh are in the studio doing like
awesome.
this makeshift studio in our old office. And I'm just, and
it was an office, and there was somebody working right next to us too.
and I think it's amazing now, but like, I think it could have been years before we got our podcast to what it is now. If we would have tried to plan it all out first and make sure we knew everything there was about podcasting before we started the Good Success podcast. So
totally agree.
I just love that you brought that up. And I'm sorry, Josh.
No, I was going to ask him a question too, but that's good because I loved it. So then my question is specifically for like acquiring rentals for passive income. You say, don't be afraid to get started. What if somebody come to you and says, Michael, how do I get started? I want to start, but how do I get started? What would you say to them?
So I believe you have to do your homework first, right? So if you read the book, which I hope both of you do, and give away to anybody you want.
Absolutely.
I talk about seeing 50 houses, right? And now you don't have to see them like walk through 50 houses, but it's important to set your base foundation, right? The last thing I want you to do is listen to this podcast, this silly guy on the West Coast, and go see 3 houses and buy 2 of them. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you need to do your base homework, look at 50 houses, and be able to tell your wife, your mother, your significant other, someone, why house A is better than house B. Now, when you go see your 51st home, you can now rank it within those first 50, right? And if it's in the top 10, it might be something to go after. So those are some things to do if you have not done anything, right? But if you've done the homework and you understand what's going on and you can feel out what a deal is, you know what rents are, you know what a repair costs are, stop messing around, write an offer, right? Use the inspection period to get out if you get all nervous. But I have too many people not writing offers. But I do believe, step 0 is do your homework, go see 50, look online, Realtor, Redfin, whatever you want, just to understand what your area is. And I would focus on a zip code, right? Because then it's like, well, where do I focus? Pick a zip code, right? Mm-hmm. Learn that one. And then once you learn one, it's easier to learn a second one. So that's what I would tell people to start with.
Absolutely. So like both of them said, I mean, yes, you want to get started, but also know what you're getting into is basically what Michael's saying now. So don't just jump in.
Can I just add one thing about what not to do? So what he said was perfect. Do what Michael says. Do not go to Vegas and buy like 7 properties from somebody.
I've known people that did that last time.
Oh, I know.
Did not end well. Did
Lots
not
of
go well.
turnkey buyers have done this, and it's never a good idea. Just don't do it.
Yeah, don't do it. Amen.
That was solid. Yes, absolutely. No Vegas. No Las Vegas. Sorry if we're offending anybody that's listening in Vegas.
It's not a good idea.
Awesome.
Not a good idea.
But that is fantastic stuff. And I believe even we had Tim Knox on maybe it's 20 episodes ago. And one of the things he really hit on was don't just jump into business without a plan, but also he talked about how he knew somebody that was creating a business plan and they were like 12 years into it or whatever, and they never got started. So yeah, you want to take action, don't take too long, but you do want a business plan. So to get into that. So absolutely. So man, Michael, this was an awesome episode. I appreciate you taking the time to be on. We're definitely going to have you back soon. And we look forward to building our relationship with you. And you guys, if you're listening right now, make sure you go check him out. One Rental at a Time is his YouTube channel. Contact information. So Michael, I know you said it at the beginning of the podcast, but if somebody wanted to get in contact with you, do you have a website? What's your email address? How can somebody get a hold of you?
Yeah, so everything is One Rental at a Time, both the website, YouTube channel. If you'd like to send me an email, it's just M as in Michael, Zuber, Zuber, at onerentalatatime.com.
Perfect. Awesome. So
Michael's
then
also on Facebook, so you can connect with them there too.
Yes.
You're right. Michael Zuber, and you'll know it's me because it has a picture of an alligator eating cash.
And that's awesome. I saw that and I was like, man, what is that? And then I clicked on it and it said, I'm like, okay, I got to know what this is. This is so weird on many levels, but I still got to find out what it is.
I like it.
Hey, it's memorable though, right?
Yeah, you're going to remember when you see it. That's for sure.
Awesome. And then if you guys want his ebook, again, we're going to have it linked in the comment section here, but you guys can also email us at podcast@goodsuccess.com and we'll make sure that we get that over to you. And we'll let Michael here know as soon as you guys do that too. So Michael, again, appreciate you being on. We look forward to having you back.
All right. Thanks, buddy. Take care, guys.
Awesome. So that's going to do it for today's episode, guys. Thank you so much for listening in. Make sure you are subscribed to the Good Success Podcast. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, and a bunch of other podcast platforms. So just go to the platform, look for Good Success. Make sure you subscribe to us and leave a review if you're able to. We'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. And then we also have the Active Turnkey book, The Best Way to Buy Rentals. We've talked about a lot of free content today, but this is one that you guys can pick up at goodsuccess.com/ATK book. You can get that for free. Tom's going to pay for it, and then you just got to cover shipping costs, and we'll send that out to you. So make sure you guys take advantage of that. A lot of great information about there, talking about the five wealth drivers, and then also how you can create financial freedom through rentals. And then the Good Success Mastermind, goodsuccess.com/mastermind. Go check that out and fill out the application if you guys are interested. We'd love to talk to you. You're either going to chat to myself or Tom, depending on if you fill it out during when I'm in my honeymoon, you'll talk to Tom. So that's coming up, like Tom said, 3 weeks, but you guys will talk to us. So make sure you go check that out. And then the Community Go Giver event, early bird pricing is already there. Save a couple $100. CommunityGoGiver.com is where you can learn more about it and also get your tickets at a little bit of a discount. So that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening in, and remember to be a conduit, not a bucket.
Work to have to give.
See you guys later.